Teacher shortages are growing at an exponential rate. Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Leena Saleh, the Edtech Guru, where we explore all things EdTech and education related. All right, let's do this. COVID-19 has not helped the teacher shortage that we are experiencing across our country. Even before this year's pandemic, or should we say endemic, teacher shortages has been at an all-time high. What are the reasons for what are causing this teacher shortage? Over the last few months, and even the past few years of myself being out of the classroom, I have spoken to many teachers. What is the issue? Why are they wanting to leave the classroom, or why are people not wanting to go into the classroom? There are a couple of factors that play into this. One is that as a teacher, you can only be pushed down so many times before you reach a breaking point. You are in a forever broken system. The system is very much like a hamster wheel. Hop in, you run through, and you hop out. Not only that, but your workload is forever increasing with higher class sizes and more responsibility. Being in the classroom, you become so disconnected from what the outside world and industry actually looks like that if you leave the classroom, you have no idea where to go. This too happened to me. I was in the classroom, knew that I was not feeling fulfilled any longer, not because of the students, but just from the pressures and not being able to carry my own weight, meaning I didn't really truly have a voice in the system. There are schools and many districts that are leading the way for teachers to have voices, but overall, many teachers feel pushed down. So you feel lost and you don't know where to go. The second reason for why teachers are leaving the classroom at an all-time high is because nobody takes responsibility. Teachers are responsible and the sole carriers of weight. Very often, when I was a kid, the first thing that my parents would ask me if a teacher were to call home, and dare I have a teacher call home,
what did I do?
Now, it's what did you do? This causes a sense of anxiety and stress, so much so that you cannot unplug from what it is that you're doing. You carry this weight day in and day out. Stressful. Thinking about how kids can't eat, the things that are going on at home, and this has only heightened during the pandemic. We worry so much about our students that we forget about our teachers. Giving teachers a workshop on how to care for themselves is not taking care of the teacher. You know what takes care of the teacher? Figuring out how to reshuffle roles within your organization to actually make teachers' jobs and teachers feel more meaningful. Reason number 2 for why teachers are leaving the classroom at an all-time high is the pay structure. The only way in many organizations to achieve a higher rate in pay is to go back to school and accrue more hours. I could literally get a degree in learning how to sew, and I will get a dollar amount that will not actually pay for the degree that I got. It will take several years for that to happen. Most teachers work for, dare I say, MLM type companies, serving jobs, retail, anything that has a flexible schedule to be able to supplement their jobs. Although the pay for teachers is above the medium or above minimum wage, it's not much higher. This causes a continuous stress for the teacher to know that they have to go from work to work, never fully remembering about themselves. The last thing is that there is just such a record rate of teacher shortages because there is a growing population. We cannot keep up with the population. And the way that we continue doing it by increasing class sizes, building additional schools, it is just leading to a higher rate of turnover. Every teacher following Twitter threads, as you can see here, there are hundreds of teachers experiencing exhaustion, and they don't have the tools needed to succeed or thrive in this setting. It has become so much so that if you ask a teacher to create on their own, they don't know what to do. I've worked in many of PBL workshops with teachers, and they look for you to give them the answer. Like many students look for teachers to give them the answer. They've been so pushed down for a millennium of time that they actually don't even know how to do something without being told how to do it. There are many of teachers who are not in this mold, but I'm talking about the general overall capacity of teachers. They feel they don't have a voice even though they do. So that's one part of it. And the second part is that public education just doesn't have the structure needed to keep up with the increase of students coming through. Even though there are schools closing in city centers, that doesn't mean that it's helpful for the other schools on the outside. It actually makes those schools not able to keep up with the students that are moving in. In addition to that, education is always and continuously will be on the chopping block. Why? Because it doesn't produce revenue. Anytime there's a potential to produce more revenue for a state, the first thing to go is educational funding. And we can see that time and time again, year in and year out. It is just a hamster wheel going round and round, hoping for a change. This teacher shortage isn't going to eliminate over time, but what COVID-19 has done and put us in a very unique position is that, I mentioned this, what we're going to see back in one of my other videos, as you can see here, it's going to put teachers who are already on a pathway of moving out of the classroom, and it's going to project them much further ahead so that they are ready to leave and ready to move. Is this a good or bad thing? We don't know. But it will bring in more energy at a certain point as a teacher and as just a regular person in any industry role. You reach a certain level of burnout when you're ready for something new. The thing about teaching is, let's say I'm in a small town and I have 3 schools, or I have one single school. I have nowhere to go. It could be hundreds of miles before the next school. So there is no opportunity for that growth potential or change. So we are uniquely positioned with how COVID-19 has actually shook up education. And what I mean by why we're uniquely positioned is that remote learning has come into the forefront. It's introduced more tools. There are districts making changes to leverage teachers in a different way. So instead of a teacher being the main holder of information for every single subject area, they're breaking up and making each teacher be more specialized, or each teacher is taking on a specific preparation for the content. And so we're starting to see this change happening. What has uniquely positioned everybody, so for the first time ever, every single school and every single district has no choice. Everyone is trying something new, in person, online, remote, going back fully remote, coming back in, and we're going to start to see that more and more throughout the year too. Schools will close, schools will open, schools will close, schools will open. What that's going to do, it's basically creating a larger fracture. So we already have a fracture, but now it's going to get shattered. And so something will have to change. Remote learning comes into play. Now, are there parents that need to work? Absolutely. So what you'll start to see is maybe instead of the kids transitioning from school, they'll transition to a center where you have paraprofessionals and less teachers. Teachers will do the delivery of the content. So maybe the students are working together and the lesson has been created and planned by the teacher, but somebody else will be implementing it, or vice versa. Leaders, if you're not thinking about this, you need to be thinking about this. This year is going to create a greater turnover in jobs than any other year. The stress fractures there, and it's only going to keep pushing, and the pressure is building until it's going to be too much. And we're going to start to see breaking points. We're already seeing the breaking points, and just adding things to an already fractured environment doesn't help. So industry leaders and educational leaders and principals, you really need to take a seat back and think about, how can I change what it is that I'm doing for my teachers and for my school sites? You have to really adapt into this remote learning. Why do kids have to go to school 5 days a week? A lot of times, I've been talking about this with lots of teachers and leaders, you go to school and it's just literally a time waster sometimes. Sometimes you can get more done in 3 days than you can in the 5-day work week. Why cannot kids go home and do supplemental lessons, or go to the center for the kiddos that don't have internet? They need to be in a daycare type environment. You don't need to be running so much with those teachers. So the structure is going to have to change. Everything is basically on steroids right now. It's faster, harder, and more stress than it's ever been before. Teaching is already a stressful job, and this is just adding to that stress. We'll also see that start to trickle into higher ed as well. Do people need to go to school to receive instruction? There are certain hands-on activities, but do you have to continue as is? You don't. And education is changing. It's changing with the access to technology. If you're denying that, it's a losing situation for you. You're rolling down the hill. Are you going to stop and figure out how to trek back up, or are you going to continue rolling down till there's nowhere else to go? COVID-19 really just hasn't put districts at a position where they can't go one-to-one. Everybody has to go one-to-one. All these situations have changed. You don't have a decision to not adopt technology. It's something you have to do. It's something that is going to continue to move us forward into the future. I challenge you to think about what it is that you're doing. And teachers, if you're listening to this, speak up. Speak up, come up with a plan for your principals, and come up with a plan with your teachers. They are also struggling in this situation. They need you as much as you need them right now. And invite your parents in. If we are reading anything from these articles about what you can take from the pandemic, it's that remote learning is going to stick, and also this open door communication that has happened with parents. Parents want to be involved. We've pushed them so far out that they have not felt welcome. They want to feel welcome, and they want to feel needed in their households, or otherwise they're not participating with their students. And we want them and we need them. Every student doesn't have that luxury. We know that, but it does help them when they are able to do that. So because the use of technology has happened, the increase of parent communication, teachers, come up with a plan for your principals. Help them out. You don't have to be sitting here on a lone island, or gather with other teachers in your district and make these changes. You're never going to get another opportunity like this to stand up and show what students actually need. A lot of times as teachers, we just sit back and we just take it. Oh, okay, we have to take it. You don't have to take it. There are other things that you can do with yourselves and with your lives that can still enrich students' lives, and you could still be part of that teaching pattern. So take this position, stand up, and figure out what it is that really is needed in order to thrive. Start thinking new. There's lots of districts already making these moves, so open your eyes, look around, and see what you can do. Start creating surveys, start creating research around your district about what people are liking, what people are not liking. This is new for everybody. There's going to be lots of growing pains this year. It's just what it is. So this gives you a unique position for the first time ever. If you were to make these decisions earlier, nobody would be as understanding as they are right now. So make the change. With that change, you will see more rewarded and happier teachers, and we're going to stop messing around with this teacher shortage. And principals and superintendents, you have to think about this in a much larger scale. Instead of spending all this money on copy paper and things that you don't have the devices and things like that, everyone has a device now. That's the lucky thing. I'm very sad to see many districts, because they're going back to school, turning in these Chromebooks. Everybody should have a Chromebook. Everybody. All the way through, and get rid of iPads. They really are not beneficial for students' learning. They don't have a capacity to work. Nobody in any industry wants to sit and work from an iPad. You want to take notes on an iPad? Fine, but full capacity of workability on an iPad just doesn't succeed. Unless you have something like an iPad Pro, which has a keyboard and something else like that. We don't have those. They're hard to manage. They're hard to maintain. Without everyone together, we're never going to make this work. So let's think about how we can come together to solve this teacher shortage. Let the stress happen on the crack, and that was only going to elicit change. Thank you so much for watching this week, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Once again, I want to thank you so much for following along on this journey. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment below. And until next time, bye.